Today I'm going to be taking a look at a very controversial show, Pickle and Peanut. Now, some people think that the show is fantastic, but the majority of the reviews that I read, because I had never even remotely heard of the show, was that it was more of a guilty pleasure. I can't watch Pickle and Peanut with anybody here. I need my fentanyl, my pickle, and my peanut, and the blinds shut. Nobody can know about it. That's how a lot of people described it, which doesn't really speak volumes to the show actually being good, and a lot of people also just said it was outright bad, one of the worst things that Disney has ever produced. But I'm gonna find out for myself if Pickle and Peanut is worth watching by taking a look at 2 of the best episodes, 2 of the worst episodes, and 2 random episodes to decide, was Pickle and Peanut good or awful? And if you like content just like this, please make sure to like and subscribe because I upload almost every single day. And if you want a place where you can talk about your favorite shows, movies, games, all that good stuff, my Discord will be in the description. Now let's finally take a look at Pickle and Peanut. Starting us off a little bit differently, taking a look at a random episode of Pickle and Peanut with a 5.2 on IMDb, we have the episode Greg. And this show is very, very fucking weird. It's kind of just all over the place, but it wasn't awful to say the least. This episode opens up with Pickle and Peanut just getting jiggy, rapping, freestyling about how they work at a supermarket, like, "Aww, I'm gonna sell some cereal, aww." Yeah, just shit like that. And that was fine. And then their boss calls them over and is like, "Hey boys, hello. God, I could just kiss you boys on the lips. I really, really could. But instead, I need you to sell some spoonicorn. Yes, please sell spoonicorn right now." And so they have to go around selling this cereal, and that leads to a lot of weird scenes that I did not like, because they have like this machine and this cart to go around and spray it into people's mouths, so it looks like they're just ejaculating at them like at high speed force, and then it cuts to like a claymation or real person, I can't really tell, of the person chewing. It's almost like they just went to a random homeless person in a big city and was like, "Oh, put this white milk in your mouth and start chewing while I record you. Yes. Yum, yum." Yeah, I didn't really like any of those scenes very much, but oh well, it's still progressing the episode decently, and then things get a little bit haywire when they run into this guy. I think his name is Flash or Lightning or something really stupid. He's like, "Hello boys, you guys look so awful and lame and stupid. Oh," and he punches them really hard, so they get super sad, but they end up falling in this zit cream. So they go inside of their little hidey hut, and Pickle is crying. He's like, "Boo! Oh, he was so mean to me." But then he sees a zit on his ass cheek, and he gets unbelievably excited because apparently the zit is alive, and its name is Greg. It's like a Pokemon. It's just like, "Greg! Greg! Greg!" So great, we now have a little homunculus. How exciting. So they go out, and everybody is just extremely infatuated with this little guy on his ass cheek. And dear Lord, I am a connoisseur of pickles. I really am. I love pickles deeply and passionately. I could eat a whole jar. I could drink the juice. I fucking love pickles. But this pickle, watching him just start throwing ass, was, not my favorite thing in the world. It wasn't bad, but the pickle, everybody's excited about Greg, so he just starts twerking violently, just throwing major, stinky green ass.
Woo! Come on, get it! Make it bounce!
And everybody's cheering, everybody's excited, and everybody loves Greg. And so, that guy who was a bully and punched them, he makes a deal with them that they could start rapping and freestyling at the party if he takes Greg for a little bit. So, reluctantly, they give Greg away to this madman, this sloppy, dirty, stinky big boy. He takes him away, and Pickle and Peanut seem a little bit sad. We get a scene of them driving to this party where they're going to perform for the very first time, and a lot of those scenes were just kind of whatever. There's a part where they argue at the door, and I feel like the entire drive there and this argument at the door where they start just slapping each other was either to set up the fact that Pickle and Peanut are going to start fucking at some point, or it was just to waste an absurd amount of time. I don't really understand the purpose, but either way, they open the door, and that's when the adult jokes start running in, and it's not like, hidden for the children. It's just right there. Like, if you had more than 2 brain cells, you could figure it out. I mean, the first thing they say when they open the door is it's just a girl who is objectively probably attractive to them, and she's wearing yoga pants, and she's like, oh, hey guys, welcome to the party. And they just sit there and they're like, yoga pants, yoga pants, yoga pants, yoga pants, he's wearing yoga pants. Probably because they looked her all up. So that was interesting. I didn't really expect that. And then they walk inside, and for better or for worse, we get this scene where Pickle, he's just walking up, he finds these ladies, he eats a bunch of snacks, just swallows them all, and he's looking for Greg. And so he turns to this group of women, and he's like, oh, hey ladies, have you seen my little special guy before? He's little and special, and he's really nice, and you know, you guys want to make out?
He's about this tall. He has a drooly mouth. You want to make out?
Yeah, that is the combo in which they decided to describe things. Instead of adding the word Greg, it just sounds like Pickle's talking about his big old pickle dick. And then he's asking right after that, do you want to make out? That's just not even hiding it. It's not hiding it at all. That was just genuinely shocking. It's like going back and watching Shrek and realizing that every 2 minutes of that movie is just them talking about boning. That's like genuinely, go and watch Shrek. There's an unbelievable amount of adult jokes constantly in that movie, and it oddly makes it a lot better. In this case, it was just more surprising than anything else. I found the adult jokes to not be that funny. I was just like, what the fuck? What are you talking about, Pickle? You want them to see your what? So, either way, they find Greg, who is being bullied by the bully guy. They're playing hacky sack with him, and Greg is very sad. So they decide to get their ejaculation zit cream once again, and they pour it all over them, which turns Greg into a giant, strapping, beautiful, big monster. Okay, cool. And he eats the guy. I was hoping that the guy would stay dead. He unfortunately does not. But Greg takes Pickle and starts running away, so it's up to Peanut. How to figure out how to get a Pickle back. And then there's this entire sequence with a champion horse. He gets like a little promo, and he helps Pickle get into a building. That also felt a little bit worthless to me plot-wise. It's just kind of random, but whatever. So Peanut, he now has a the like scooter, the ejaculation machine, I'm gonna call it, that he was using to help spray into the people's mouths at the beginning of the episode. So he goes to this roof where Greg, the giant monster, and Pickle are, and just as Greg has a moment of, you know, reflection and is all like, oh, Pickle, oh, I remember you, oh, I love you, Dad, I love you so much, Dad, I remember being on your ass, and when you would throw it back for me, baby, you were doing so good, baby. And then fucking Peanut just like rams into his skull and brutally murders Greg. Like eviscerates him, like his guts and everything everywhere. And Pickle, who just found this new form love for Greg, a fathership even, just starts hitting a jig when he's dead. Just starts jigging it up, just dancing it up, and that was a little shocking. But either way, that's pretty much going to do it for the episode. This was definitely interesting, to say the least. I felt like my major problem with it is a lot of the stuff they decided to add didn't really correlate to the plot. It felt like it was just wasting time and wasn't in a funny way. The entire sequence of Champion Horse was just kind of whatever. Like, it's just a horse who's muscular, just going around doing things, and I didn't care. Maybe it was voiced by Patrick Warburton or something. Well, a royal flush. Oh, my legs don't work. I don't know. I would have liked that a little bit more, but I don't know. He was just a buff horse for the sake of being a buff horse. I don't know, I didn't really care for it, and there were a lot of scenes like that where it's just dry humor for the sake of dry humor, but the overall plot I did find to be interesting. There were a couple things lacking, or just things that I didn't find funny, but if I was to rate it 1 to 10, I would probably give it a solid 6 out of 10, you know? There was no parts of it where it was awful, I was hating my life, I wasn't having a bad time. It's just gonna be a 6 out of 10 because I don't really think it has any rewatch value, but overall it was decent, fine, it was good, it was entertaining. Taking a look at one of the worst episodes in the series with a 4.6 on IMDb, we have the Rat King moves in, and oh god, it's just so weird, the ideas that the creators must have had to make an episode like this. It starts off all well and fun, with Pickle and Peanut helping Peanut's mom with a Zen garden. Okay, cool, until they get to Peanut's room, and he's like, oh god, I'm 17 years old and I'm surrounded by baby shit. I just want a better room to feel more like a man. You know, he just wants to seem a little bit old. And I should highlight the fact that he is 17 because of all the stuff that's about to happen, and I don't know how it correlates with that, but either way. Then all of a sudden, a giant hole forms in the middle of the room. The Rat King rises up, and he's like, I am the Rat King. Hello, everybody. I am the Rat King. I don't want to be the Rat King anymore. Look at all this baby shit around me. I like this. You, Peanut, you want to be the Rat King? You could be the Rat King. So Peanut, because he imagines a sexy rat queen wife, which is literally a human person in a rat onesie. He's imagining that, and he probably wants to plow her. He's thinking, oh yeah, I'll be the rat king, hell yeah! And so, that is when we get to the slavery in the episode, which is very weird in hindsight when you also factor in the fact that Peanut and Pickle are 17, and there's just these grown-up slaves that just nuzzle up to them all comfy. It's very odd because there's this one character named Scampy who is clearly like, you know, perhaps a mentally challenged 37-year-old with a little facial hair, and he's just like, oh, hello, Peanut. Oh, let me nuzzle up against you. Oh, I'm Scampy.
Oh, hey there, champ.
Oh, looks like this one likes you.
Oh, and he's just nuzzling on Peanut, and then Peanut and Pickle drive a car made out of slaves, which was also a little bit odd. I didn't like that very much, especially because later on in the episode, they do recognize themselves as humans, as people, and as individuals, and they want to be free. So for them to be doing this at the beginning of the episode, where Pickle and Peanut are just riding on top of them, using them all, it's just very fucking odd. But it gets even more odd because they find the rat lair, and Peanut, he's very impressed. And that is when, all of a sudden, we hear moaning from the other side of this door, where it's just, oh boy, oh boy. And Scampy chimes in, and he's all like, oh, that must be the Rat Queen asking for a good old-fashioned foot rub. And I thought Peanut would walk in and see what the Rat Queen was, and he would be like, ew, oh no, bro, I don't want to do this anymore, I don't like this. I thought that's what his reaction would be, but no. He walks in, and we're just greeted with this giant, obese fucking rat queen. Like, huge. Mondo big, okay? Like, eating at least 3 Caniac combos at Raising Cane's a day. So, there's this fat rat, and it's just going, oh boy, oh. And Peanut, he walks over, he's just like, I'm gonna rub those feet, and he starts rubbing them. And we just cut to Pickle, and his face is just watching what's happening. We're not seeing anything that Peanut is doing to this rat, but all we hear is the rat going, oh yeah, oh yeah, as it starts moaning.
The nobleman, buddy.
And Peanut's face just slowly droops down to a frown, to a scowl, like from, and then as the moaning intensifies, he begins to smile again, like he's enjoying what he's seeing, so we're just hearing moaning, and I'm assuming that Peanut, the 17-year-old, fucked this rat queen obese mother. What? Why did he do that? Why did he do that? I don't understand. No. How does this get greenlit? What is the boardroom meeting? All right, guys, so we're gonna have our character Peanut, who was earlier established in the episode to be a 17-year-old, you know, still living with his mother. Let's have him fuck the Rat Queen. Let's have him do dirty, nasty things to the Rat Queen. Use her up. We're not gonna show any of it, though, but to convey this message, instead of in a short 5 seconds, we're gonna have the character Pickle watching in horror, and then in immense pleasure as we hear the Rat Queen moan from whatever Peanut is doing. Very odd choice. And then you have the guy who had to watch this episode and be like, yeah, this is okay for children, when he's just sitting there like, the Rat Queen is moaning. The kids are gonna love this. What a hooabaloo. Yeah, that's just very odd choice to let that air. Wow. That's just crazy. So then they decide that they're gonna help all the slave people because one of the slaves, that being Scampy, is sad after getting a bedtime story because he's like,
Oh, you treat us better, but I still have no fucking hands. I have no legs. I want to be a person. I want to be an individual.
if that's true, then why were you just rubbing all over your king like you were gonna give him a good old-fashioned like, it's just so weird. I don't like it. So they now help all of them establish that they want to be people, they want to act like people, and then the Rat King shows up, and they don't like the Rat King anymore, so the obese Rat Queen mother, who just got her first taste of being a pedophile, jumps onto the Rat King and eats him. And that's the end of the episode. All the humans are free. Wow. What a time to be alive, huh? What a time to see everything. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would give it, I don't know. I don't know. This is weird. 5 out of 10? It didn't really do anything that funny to me. No, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. I think some of the concepts they were tackling could have been a lot interesting, but when you look at it from a moral standpoint, it's really fucked up. I mean, I watched a Peanut, like, do dirty things with a pedophile. I'm gonna move it to a 2 out of 10. I watched a Peanut do dirty things to the Rat Queen, which I'm assuming is an old woman because she was literally getting milked by her babies before. So I had to watch that. And then I had to watch all these slaves be nuzzling up with Pickle and Peanut like little dogs, and then all of a sudden they want individualism and to be seen as actual people, which makes that in hindsight all the more worse. So yeah, overall, don't know what these people were thinking, don't know why they created this. It's very odd. Taking a look at one of the best episodes in the series with a 8.0 on IMDb, we have the episode Blacklight Bowling, and this episode opens with Pickle and Peanut just bowling it up, fondling them balls, and having a great time. Pickle is very nervous. He's a bit of a nervous wreck because he conforms his arms like this. He goes like, and that makes him bowl a strike, and then he gets another strike, so he's thrilled, he's excited, but then he's extremely nervous, and we get some of my least favorite forms of comedy. You know, I've said this many times. Oh, fuck, I hope it doesn't start raining. Nothing else could get worse. And then it starts raining. They kind of do this comedy here, but it actually wasn't done that bad because I thoroughly enjoyed the presentation of it. For example, Peanut, he really wants to get 3 strikes in a row because that'll turn the illustrious black lights on. So his body turns white and he's like, Pickle, I'm freaking out, Pickle. I took too much Fend, Pickle, you gotta help me, man. And so Pickle walks over and he's like, oh man, you don't got nothing to worry about, Peanut. It's not even your turn yet. And then he just bowls, which immediately makes it Peanut's turn.
Relax, it's not even your turn yet. Alright, you're up.
And that was actually a joke that was done where it's like, the opposite happens, but it was presented well, and it almost got a chuckle out of me. That was thoroughly enjoyable. And then just immediately after that, Peanut is still terribly frightened to bowl, because he really wants those silly little black lights. They see this character named Wayne, and he is just getting strike after strike after strike, and Pickle is all like, Wayne? What's he doing at the bowling alley? Oh, it looks like he's bowling.
What the heck are you doing at the bowling alley, Wayne? Oh, I guess he's bowling.
I kind of liked that. I thought that was fun. Wayne looks a little bit decrepit. He's like pale white. He looks like he's been smoking Marlboro Red since he was the age of 1, and everything is just falling apart because he had to quit. His wife back home is just like,
Oh, your cigarette smoking is getting in the way of our baby. What are you gonna do when Bring Me a Beer is off to college, huh? You gonna just abandon him?
He looks like he's going through that, and he's having to quit, so he's at the bowling alley to avoid his beautiful wife, Honeysuckle, and his son, Bring Me a Beer, so he's just bowling away while dealing with his withdrawals. That's how his character design makes me feel, to say the least. But either way, they walk up to Wayne and they're like, Wayne, can you please bowl for us? Can you bowl for us, please, so that we can get the black lights? And Wayne does this, and the black lights turn on, but they turn off immediately, and that is when we get introduced to, by far, one of my favorite characters in the show so far, this, like, reggae duck.
We don't do the black lights no more.
Oh, Raga?
I don't know. She's pretty cool. He's like, yeah, man, we cannot turn on the black lights, man. We can't do it, man. No way. I have to shave off my bunion, man. I can't do it, man. Get the fuck out of here, man. Why don't you go buy yourself some marijuana, man? Get the fuck out of here. I got bunions, man. Yeah, he's like that. He had a pretty cool intro, too. I was all for it. I enjoyed that little duck. And so he walks away, and Pickle and Peanut, they decide to turn on the black lights anyway. And that is when the Fent demons just start appearing. I was actually a little bit terrified when, you know, the black lights turn on and everything looks visually very appealing. And then you just see a just ghostly, contorted hand just crawl out of there screaming like he has testicular contortions. And he just comes out and he's like, bowling, somebody call me a stripper, somebody call me Candy and Cinnamon, cause I need to get my ball fondling on. And a bunch of ghosts come out and they're all bowling and the duck is like, no man, I used to have demons come in here, man. Oh no, man. Yeah, so that was cool. And then Wayne is seen hiding under the table, probably because all of these ghosts remind him of his wife and daughter back home, and those sweet succulent Marlboro Reds, and he's having such a rough time dealing with the nonsense. And then Pickle and Peanut, they walk over to him and just unconsensually drag him out from under the table while he looks like he's about to start crying. And that is when the ghosts notice him, and they're like, oh boy, look at that fella, we know him. And then they get dragged down to the depths of hell, where it turns out that Wayne has a demon ghost brother, and we get this pretty decent battle between Pickle and Peanut and Wayne going up against these demons in a bowling match, which was actually pretty fun. One of the main highlights of it is the fact that they're using heads to bowl with instead of bowling balls. So no more fondling balls, you're just sticking your fingers deep inside somebody else's head. So that was a bit odd. But one of the things that I actually really liked was all the scenes with Pickle, because instead of him actually bowling, he just like looks at the head and he's like, come on, baby, I know you can do it for me. You could do it real good. And then he just throws the head and the head just starts just like slow, like crawling over there, and it usually gets him a strike, which is very effective. I was all for it. And then the episode is wrapped nicely in a tight, neat little bow when Peanut has to overcome his fears, bowl the head, get the final strike, and ultimately wins the game. So yeah, overall, it was a pretty fun episode. I had a decent time. I thought the bowling matches were a lot of fun, to say the least. I thought all the stuff with Wayne was actually pretty funny, and the demons was a nice surprise at the end. The entire match, the head bowling, and the Guy Fieri, like, demon ghost brother villain was pretty cool. He was like, I'm gonna take you to Flavor Town. Oh, Wayne, you stupid ass. Your wife's been calling me all day asking where you are, and you're making it a problem for me. I like how I just created an entire narrative that isn't even in the episode for myself. We like to have fun around here. We like to have fun. Either way, if I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would probably give it a solid 7 out of 10. It doesn't do anything that amazing that makes me want to make it any higher, but it's not bad by any means. 7 out of 10, it was a fun watch. It's even something that I could rewatch. Taking a look at another random episode with a 5.2 on IMDb, we have Grandma Jail, and dear lord, the things that they talk about in this show that they just gloss over is so fucking weird, man. The episode opens with Pickle talking to this very, very old woman, and there's like oddly sexual tension between them, and I don't know how to feel about it. They're just talking about her buying these big old diapers, and it's just shit like, oh god, I could just kiss you, you know? I love that you come in here all the time. And then they get like really close to each other when the grandma wants to steal or not pay for something, and she's like, oh, Pickle, oh, you wouldn't rat me out, would ya? Oh, would you, dear? Oh, you wouldn't do that, would ya?
Oh, come on, Pickle. Be a sweetie buns and let this one slide. Oh, please.
It's just very weird, and I don't like the close-ups that they did for the grandma's face. I didn't really like any of it. It's just very hard to watch when it's just this Pickle having sexual relations with this grandmother, but either way, it was followed up with a pretty decent funny moment where Pickle just decides to let her go. She doesn't have to pay for it, and the store manager just tackles her out of nowhere, just spears her into oblivion.
Hey, man. Impact.
That was pretty funny. I enjoy it. So the grandma goes to jail and Pickle feels very bad about this, so Peanut and Pickle have to pretend to be grandmas and go to grandma jail. And again, we get another weird conversation, and I was having trouble following it, but I think Pickle was having, problems with how he looked at us as a grandma, and Peanut just looks at him and he's like, oh boy, if I was a grandpa, I would love a slice of that granny cake. I don't know. Pickle and Peanut seem like they want to do dirty, nasty things to each other a lot in this show. I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but they sure do talk about it a decent amount. So either way, they're in grandma jail. We get a good amount of scenes of them just walking around, either weightlifting, and they get beat up. But there's this one scene that was so unbelievably weird, where Pickle just sees a cat and just looks at it. And I mean, I don't blame him. It's a proper reaction to seeing a cat just to lose all senses of reality and just start going, meow, meow, meow. And that's what the cat does, but it gets really close. It's just weird.
Meow? Meow.
I couldn't tell if it was wasting time at first, but this actually does have a purpose. So he meows at a cat for a good 30 seconds, and then we cut to the yard, where there's apparently a Cyclops woman, and it's revealed to be that old lady that wants to do dirty, nasty things to the Pickle is this Cyclops horror woman villain, and she wants to immediately attack everybody. She's the queen bee of the yard, to say the least. She wants to own everybody. And so she throws Pickle into this jail and says that she has plans for the pretty one. So I thought that it was going to turn into a dirty, stinky rape story and she was going to use Peanut up dry, because the show does somehow feel like it should be on Adult Swim, but it's not. To say the least, Grandma doesn't use up Peanut. She dresses him in some pants, some meat pants, and he gets mauled by dogs. I thought visually that was kind of funny. I was enjoying myself there. And then Pickle has this entire thing where he gets the power of the grandma spirit and breaks out of there and saves Peanut's life. And then we get a fight scene between Pickle and Peanut and all the grandmas, which again, that was also entertaining. The Cyclops granny lady, she's about to deliver a finishing blow to Pickle and Peanut, and then Pickle just pulls out the cat, and we get like a psychedelic, trippy, weird-ass thing where the cat is meowing and deeply and passionately looking into the grandma, which is basically therapy for her, and she becomes a good old lady again.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow.
Very odd stuff going on, very odd stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody wasn't zooted while they were making this episode, because that's how it feels. It very much feels like they were not all there. But either way, the grandma is cured, and the rest of the episode is just kind of whatever. It's just 2 minutes of random gibberish that I don't really give a shit about. But the main plot, that was actually pretty interesting. I had a fun time. I wasn't much of a fan of the sexual innuendos directed at this feeble old woman who looks like a decaying bag of bones. But either way, she was reciprocating, so, if this 25-year-old Pickle wants to get down and jiggy with an 80-year-old woman, I am gonna judge, but you do you, I guess. You do you. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would probably give it a solid 6 out of 10. I wouldn't say it's bad, it was entertaining, it's just like the other random episode I watched. It was entertaining, I don't really ever want to rewatch it. It doesn't have any rewatch value for me, which, tanks the episode in the rating. If I feel like I could go back to something and laugh again, then I'm usually going to rate it a little bit higher. But it's not bad by any means. There was nothing in this episode that made me hate my life, so yeah, just 6 out of 10 seems good. Taking a look at one of the worst episodes in the series with a 4.6 on IMDb, we have the episode What Lies Beneath. And this episode's major fault is that it's just so unbelievably boring. Its main thing is just this baby man guy named McSweats, who isn't really even remotely funny, so it just doesn't have a lot going for it. This episode opens with Pickle and Peanut driving to McSweats' house because they want to see if his leg is actually gone, so they get there, and then he's like, hey boys, I lied, I actually do have a leg, but look at this fucking floor, look at my floor, it's made of cherry hardwood, oh, it's just so nice, I think I could bust. Oh, fuck, it looks so good. Yeah, that's pretty much it. He's just gushing and gushing all over his floor. He's very excited about it. And then Pickle and Peanut are like, yeah, but we have a pretty cool house. You want to come look at it? And so they get to their house, and he's like, this house sucks. And he blows his nose all over their curtains, which I thought was disgusting. So great. And then they want to, you know, prove to him that their house is cool, so they start lifting up the floorboards, and it's nothing but dirt. They don't have no illustrious, sexy-ass cherry hardwood floor, so McSweats leaves to go have his banging party, and Pickle, he slams into the floor, which causes a geyser to form. Yay, water everywhere, poop stinky water everywhere. And they decide they're going to have their own party with the water. And they do that, and nobody goes to McSweat's party. Everybody goes to Pickle and Peanut's geyser party, and McSweats gets there, and he's like,
No, no, no! You all were supposed to be creaming and gleaming all over my floor. We could have had a dirty, stinky orgy on my dirty, stinky cherry floor.
And so he plugs the geyser. Yay. Which causes the entire town to flood. And I guess it's visually decent. Visually a little bit entertaining. And then there's this random guy who has another house and is clinging to Pickle and Peanut's house as it floats away during this flood. And he's like, oh god, guys, you just gotta shove me. You just gotta shove me away. Shove me. And so they shove him and he dies a gruesome death, which ultimately served no purpose in entertainment value, but whatever. So they get to McSweat's house, at least the flood does, which takes out his entire house. And then they're like,
oh, McSweats, you know, your cherry floor, it was sexy, it was lavish, it made me want to do dirty things to it,
but we like you for who you are and not just your floor. And that's the end of the episode. Yeah, that was just a waste of time. It's not so bad that it, like, irked my being and made me want to die, but it was just so unbelievably useless. Like, this entire episode served no purpose in teaching a lesson, in entertainment value. I don't even recall a single joke actually featured in the episode. It felt like it was just going through the motions the entire time, and which makes it just overall not entertaining. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would give it a 3 out of 10. There's genuinely no reason to watch this episode, and the only reason I'm not ranking it lower is because there's something there, you know? It's not making me angry, but there's just no reason to watch this. Pickle and Peanut is a very interesting show, to say the least. The thing that I was most surprised about was the fact that Pickle and Peanut themselves were decent characters. I felt like they balanced each other out, and their random bromance moments were actually sometimes entertaining, and I actually did like the majority of the episodes. They were okay. Zero rewatch value because the jokes don't usually land, the plot lines aren't that interesting. I mean, one of them had a pedophile fat rat, so that wasn't very entertaining, but I feel like if you were just to turn on the show randomly, you wouldn't have a bad time. I thought it was decent. I will say though, I did record another little fraction for the other second best episode that I was going to take a look at, and I decided not to include it in the video because it's about a 90s fucking adventure bear, and Pickle and Peanut aren't even featured in it at all. It's like if you were watching Breaking Bad and you just saw, I don't know, Walter White cook up some stinky ooey gooey meth, and all of a sudden he killed a couple people, and then the next episode was Teen Titans Go. That's actually what it felt like. It felt like I was watching a completely different show, and I wanted to get a video out today, so I didn't feel like going back and recording another episode because I don't feel like it. But yeah, just a little odd that they just randomly have another entire series going on in their series. I don't know if 90s Adventure Bear is frequent, but it was genuinely about a bear who wanted a coconut helmet. Yeah, it was really fucking stupid. That's why it's not featured in the video. Sorry if that hurts your viewing experience. But overall, Pickle and Peanut is just fine. I don't think it would ever be my favorite show. Definitely not even close. I don't really want to revisit it in the future, but I don't think it's as bad as people say, and I don't think people need to call it a guilty pleasure. I think it's fine. I will say the really weird sexual innuendos that are featured in every single episode are a bit odd, are a bit over the top, but for the most part, it's a decent show.